Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Becoming Monsters. I'm one of your hosts, Nighthawk. We'll have Gerald from Midwest Night Watchers coming on, and Dennis Carroll, my brother from my southern mother. We are going to talk about Becoming Monsters tonight. Now, we are going to get into a little bit of everything. It's not going to be any certain specific subject matter. We're going to get into probably the Mothman. We're going to get into amphibians. Yes, I said amphibians. Everything from mermaids to merman to whatever. Okay, frogmen, whatever you want to call them. Okay, it doesn't matter to me. They're amphibians. Okay, so we are going to get into the thick of it, and who knows how far off the rails we're going to go. Okay. So, that being said, the federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portion copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called the Fair Use Act and is allowed for purposes of criticism, which we do, news reporting, which we do, teaching, which we try to do, and parody, which I do a lot of, which doesn't infringe upon the copyright under Section 17 U.S.C. subsection 107 of the Fair Use Act. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and aka William Nighthawk and all the podcasts on the channel to declare and claim fair use of any and all content. That's any and all content to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for educational purpose, general knowledge only, USC subsection 107. Whew, okay. All right, that being said, now that I'm out of breath, let's just go to the end of the and I'll run the bit. No, let's see here. Let's see. I read to everybody. I know everybody's getting sick of it. I hate it. All right, but we got to cover all the bases, okay? So, this is a disclaimer. Anything that I show, discuss, or showcase on this channel is what I do or how I feel about things. All kinds of weird. You must remember to do your own research and decide for yourself if what you see or hear on this platform is right for you, as only you can decide for yourself. I am not a financial advisor. Thank God for you all be dirt poor and eating dirt. I'm not a doctor. No. Engineer. Oh, God, no. I have buildings upside down. And a professional of any kind. Okay, kind of an insult there. All I offer are ideas that you can draw from and a bit of entertainment. Thank God for the entertainment part of this podcast. All right, thank you and God bless. All right. Hello, everybody. Hey, Gerald, how we doing?
Good. How are you? Did you hear me?
I'm doing good. I see we got another delay.
Ha. Somebody else just popped in down there.
Yeah.
Like your background, looks good.
How do you get my mask? Thank you. That's one of them. That's the Becoming Monsters background, everybody. If you can see it with my big butt. But that's the Becoming Monsters background. So, all right, let's get Dennis on here, otherwise known as the man behind the
whoops, I'm sorry.
The legend himself.
I left my mask on. Just call me anonymous, okay?
For a while.
I got to be careful on letting my
Oh,
secret
man.
identity
Okay.
get out. We don't
Well-
want my secret identity to be known. I like your background, William.
Wait till you see
I
what
like-
I've got planned.
I like your background, William. Where'd you get that picture of me at? Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was a picture of me back there. My eyes aren't usually that red, though. Okay.
You know what they say about red eye. Anyways, let the show begin. All right. We're gonna get into everything tonight, guys. I want to cover. And by the way, you know what my desk is tonight? My desk is two 20-gallon totes on top of each other with the platform computer on top. So because I'm in the middle of doing all the arrangements and stuff in here, and
that
there's
sounds
only
like
some.
that sounds like what the Army used to call a field desk, right?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. But the whole thing of it is right now it's like trying to shove 10 pounds of dog crap in a 5-pound bag. So, you got no place to put stuff. So, but anyways, I know we're going to cover a lot of different gambits tonight. I know we're going to do Mothman and all that, and we're going to get into all that, and a deep dive into kinds of weird and unexplained encounters. But one thing that intrigued me with all the amphibian research that I've done over the last several nights, it's pretty odd. I mean, it's an odd subject to get into because technically, when we are in the womb of we are breathing liquid. So, technically we could be amphibians too. And also the webbing between our fingers almost makes us amphibian. So,
Well,
just something that I heard.
Some people, William, are born like that. I knew a boy I went to school with. He had webbing, like it on both hands. Some people are born like that. And at one stage of pregnancy, we all have a tail too. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of, makes you wonder where that division's going to be on whether we descended from apes, whether God created us from the Big Bang, or whether we descended from lizards or fish people that came out of the oceans. I mean, it just,
Well,
you don't know what to
William,
do. We could be
William,
a possible.
science now says we did not come from apes. Apes and humans supposedly have a common ancestor. So we didn't really, we've heard that for many years, all our life about, a man and came from the ape and all that. So now they've got a different story. They say that we share a common ancestor. And that's the missing link. Could that be Bigfoot? Could that be something out there in the cryptid world that we don't know about?
Yeah, true. I'm kind of bummed out now because I thought they named the Billy Ape after me. So no, I guess I was wrong. I can't claim that. So, I'm kind of bummed out about that.
Yep.
So, but anyways, when we get into the whole amphibian thing, there's all kinds of weird stuff that I can pop up here.
Well, here's the
these that were cited.
William. Here's the interesting thing, okay, about mermaids and all aquatic life. We got to remember that all life on Earth began where? In the oceans. They began in the oceans and they came on land. What if some of them never left the ocean? You know what I'm saying? There you go.
Yeah, true. That's very true. I don't know, Gerald. What do you think?
Well, it's been proven that they keep going deeper and deeper in the oceans and finding new species and all kinds of stuff. So who knows what's down at the very deeps and trenches? I mean, there could be a society of amphibious people down there that we've never known, and they just come up whenever they want.
Here's another thing, Gerald, that really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Since, I'm big on folklore, I'm a folklorist, and a lot of folklore goes way, 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 way back about cities under the sea, civilizations under the sea. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a poem about it. I mean, there's been a lot of stories written, stories told about that, and it makes you wonder, where did that start? Yeah,
because anymore, I mean, stuff comes out where a little bit of truth is always in all these folklores and myths. They start out the truth somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's been reports of mermaids forever, from ancient maritime sailors to just like you said, it's been in literature forever.
Well, now, one of the possible explanations for a mermaid could be the manatee. The female manatee has breasts like a woman. And matter of fact, they suckle their young like a woman would, hold them up to the breast. And you see something like that in the water, and if you haven't seen a female in like maybe a couple of years, you've been at sea a long time, you're going to say, hey, it looks like a woman a little bit to me. You're thinking about a woman, kind of thing. So we've got to look at that for a minute, because a lot of mermaid sightings supposedly may have been the manatees and some other types of aquatic life. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Some of it. I'm not saying all of it, but, that's one thing,
How count for that are have been over and all 19 years, a woman was grabbed and pulled off underneath from her inner tube that she was swimming in with her family. And she claims that it's an amphibian creature, something like the creature from the Black that she saw. And there was other sightings in that same area. And people that were, people used to do. I don't know what they do nowadays. Probably hang out in Walmart parking lots.
Well, here's my slant on that. Here's my slant on that. Okay, we tend to. Here's the interesting thing about becoming monsters tonight. We tend to humanize monsters sometimes. Look at the classic Frankenstein, the Wolfman, all this. We tend to humanize our monsters because it makes us feel a little bit for them, or some kind of empathy with them in a way. And look at the mermaid and the merman. We may think they might look a little more like this, but they may look something completely different. We tend to humanize these things and to put human faces on them sometimes when really they're not.
Well, once again, you got movies of all this stuff, and the ideas had to come from somewhere, whether it was just made up out of some author's head or writer, or is it based on a true sighting, or maybe we can even go to the Frogman. There's festivals for the Frogman.
Uh-huh. Well, there's one, that's called the Frogster. The Frogster is supposed to be like a frog man that roams the town and actually eats people. Swallows them like a frog. Would swallow a fly or something. So you have different types of sightings of these things, like the Loveland Frog Man, you know. You got different sightings on these things. But take a look at that sketch there for a minute. That looks very much like the classic creature from the Black Lagoon to a certain extent. And he was a gill man. He was supposed to be, what the story on that is, that he was supposed to be that missing link between man and the ocean, you know. And which is very interesting because if you're looking at mer people, that would definitely be a link, would it not?
Yep.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
Yeah, it makes you wonder whether
I'm
it's
going in and out
a
of the
human
chat
hybrid,
tonight,
maybe even. So if you've ever
Listen,
seen
I
the
want
movie,
to say hello to a
oh,
few.
go ahead. Go ahead, William.
I want to say hello to a few. I want to say hello to a few people in chat. We got Steve Davis, we got Tracy. I want to say hello to Chiro. I want to say hello to Raven Creek Charms. Let's see who else got two. Let's see, we have Tombstone. Yeah. Good day to you too. One of the two. Probably good night. No. Okay. All right. Let's see here. We have Miriam. Good evening, Miriam. Good to see you. Oh, there he is. Werewolves in the house tonight. Good. We might even get a little bit tonight too. Where how far we're gonna go? Things change sometime. You.
Hey, LCC, how you doing? Werewolf.
And Darcy, good to see you. Caster Paul X15, good to see you. All right, I think that's so far. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I'm going to get back to the bright, shiny instead of this cryptid creature that we're talking about here. There we go. Not much difference looking at that picture than looking at Dennis.
Oh, nobody's behind me. Yeah, okay. If something comes behind me, let me know. Okay. Right off.
You want to know some? Yeah, you want to know something really cool though. There's a really cool younger brother of mine that he's like extended family to me, Ryan out there, and he knows who he is. He's on Monster Radio, and anyways, Ryan, I with the in the location where they had the actual amphibian man suit from the creature of the Black Lagoon, and I teased him about he's a smaller guy than me, but yeah, they actually had the suit that was worn for the movie, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I actually talked William to the guy. I can't think of his name. I know it. Rico Browning, I think his name was. He was actually the one that went in the water that they filmed. He was the stunt man that did all that stuff. He was a real cool guy. He was a really nice, down to earth guy. But there's one thing I wanted to know about that suit. I said, could you really move that good in that suit? He said, no. He said it was like a piece of concrete.
Now, you see, well, they didn't have the latex that they had that we have now that they can really do anything
It
with.
was real.
Um,
It was real thick
yeah,
stuff that he had on. You could tell that it
yeah,
wasn't very bendable.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, getting into that whole thing, the subject of the whole amphibian thing, you know, I almost correlate it with like and this is going to be right up Jared's alley here, with the USOs, the underwater, the submersible objects, the USOs. You know,
Right.
why couldn't an amphibian race have that technology to make UFOs to go in water and out of water?
Well, here's an interesting thing, William, and I mentioned this earlier. Okay, there is a hypothesis that a lot of these UFOs, USOs, as we're talking about now, actually come from, instead of underground civilizations, undersea civilizations.
Right.
So
Right.
we're looking at both locations here, underground and undersea. So that's an interesting hypothesis, you know.
Yeah, I always thought that was fascinating. What do you think, Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, you have all the reports of the USOs coming out of the water, and once again, that's been reported by Maritimes forever. Glowing lights under the water. So if you're going to think of it as I don't know, under an amphibious people or mer people, then you would have to believe that there would be cities down there, and why wouldn't they be able to become technology? In their time, going through, say, an evolution, not basically physical, but technology wise, and be able to come up with craft that would be able to go underwater and come up. Or maybe there's another alien race that's been down there with them, and they found them
Yeah,
and had their
that's
technology.
I said before, that's a perfect hiding place. If I were going to hide, it would definitely, I'd want my base there. I'd put my base down there. But here's another thing: is you can make a craft that goes underwater. You could certainly make one that goes out of the water and flies too. I mean, it's not that far fetched. You could do both.
Yeah.
So that might be the origin of a lot of this UFO stuff that we hear about.
Yeah, true. Very true. I mean, ways you can go with the whole subject of amphibians. Are entirely like us, or are they more animalistic in nature? Are they, are they kind of like the African tribes and the Amazon tribes that really try to stay away from civilized and their traditions alive? Do they hunt with the underwater spears, or do they make their own spear guns? What do they eat? I mean, so many places you can go with the subject matter that it's unfathomable. You can't comprehend every aspect of it. Okay. So, and you couple, the whole UFO thing and the underwater cities. Well, and then you have somebody saying, well, with our our satellite technology and Google, Google Maps, everybody knows that, their satellites are phenomenal. Why haven't we spotted the light something or activity from their cities if they're that big? Because even at any depth, you have some kind of light refraction, or glow or something. So,
Google Maps, William, is trying to really cover the whole Earth, and a lot of all cities have been found with it. But if you go underground or under the sea, that's the perfect place to get away from Google Maps. Okay, on satellite technology and all that. To me, like I said before, that's where I'd go. Okay, if I were going to hide. And if you go to folklore, going back thousands of years, we've talked about this before, but there is a distinct underground connection to ancient peoples that supposedly went underground to get away from, other things or whatever the case might have been. Could there not have also been an exodus to the sea as well? Because from the sea we first came, to the sea would you not go back? Perfect place to hide. That's an interesting thing to think about. When I think about underground civilizations, I also think about underwater civilizations. That would be the perfect place to start too, and that's the perfect place to hide. Like I said before, if I were gonna hide, that's where I'd go. I mean, and if you want to get away from satellite technology, Google Earth, and all this other stuff, where else would you go? Either that or go to the moon, And even the moon's being mapped by these things,
Well, the deeper you go in the water, I mean, obviously light's not going to project off that far. If you've ever been in a river or just a big lake like Lake Michigan, the farther down you go, you're not going to see that light from the surface. So if they're really amphibious and they have gills to breathe, and actually live in that environment, they could be so far down that they could have really, really bright lights like our city would. You'd never see it on the surface.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question, my next question would be, hold on. My next question, I know there's a delay. Give me a second. My next question would be, if there is a way for them to keep their cities hidden and the light not being seen, wouldn't their skin say burn a little bit if they came up into the sunlight? But there's been so many of them that have been reported seen on rocks next to edges of the shoreline. And there's been photographic proof of special operations program, SAP program, and the CDC and for the shoreline and the stretcher. So, are they more primitive or just, not showing enough of their civilization? I think they're more primitive, is what I think.
Well, we don't know how long they've been around. I mean, they could have started off as just being underwater species, and then over time, if they came out a little bit to the surface, or they spend a little more time, then generations later, just like everything else, they adapt.
Well, the very word amphibian means to be able to exist on land and water, So we're not talking about fish here. Fish got to stay in the water. Sharks got to keep moving. The gills must keep that water flowing so that they can get oxygen. But amphibians are different. Look at frogs. Where did they originally come from? Tadpoles, That's an amazing thing when you think about it. The amphibians, to me, are sort of that bridge between the land and the sea,
Right.
I mean, we got walking perch that come up on land for just, on the sandbars and go across into another body of water. I mean, they live in the air for a little while.
Yeah, they can subsist. I mean, even fish, a fish out of water will live a while, before it dies. There are catfish in the east that, like you said, Gerald, they could go from river to river across land. They wiggle across the land, they go a long ways on land and get to another river. So we know that's not impossible.
Okay. Yeah, these are just questions that I'm trying to stimulate the conversation and as far as this goes.
Answer Mary, Google Maps doesn't show me what's in Antarctica. They don't want you to see what's in Antarctica, okay? That's my point.
Yeah, there's no way. Wait a minute. Let me read this, guys. Where'd it go? Oh, StreamYard. Okay. Yes, is a coffee maker in the background,
maker,
everybody.
yeah.
Okay,
There it is.
we can the coffee. This the elixir of
I have
life
my
maker.
coffee, man. I have my coffee
That
made.
I use. That
Regularly.
I use, and you know, I use it, but I also make instant coffee too. So don't assume I don't do instant coffee, because I do. Because there's mornings when I just don't feel like taking and putting a filter in this and spooning out the coffee, and then having to measure the right amount of water to put in the back of it, that kind of crap. So
you gotta have your stuff, and you gotta have your stuff, and you gotta have it quick, right?
Yeah, nobody's got time for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but anyways,
so back to your previous comment about what do they eat and stuff. I mean, what do we eat out of the oceans and the water? I mean, we eat fish, we eat eels, snakes, we eat kelp, we eat salad that naturally grows.
They eat squid, they eat octopus, they can eat anything out of the ocean. Anything in the ocean, just about you. But of course, I wouldn't advise eating jellyfish. But there's a lot that can be eaten in the ocean, definitely. But you could survive easily in the ocean if you were amphibious. But
not me. I wouldn't. With as many chemical train derailments and chemical plants blowing up lately next to bodies of water, you won't see anything out of a freshwater lake or a pond or a river or a stream ever again.
Well, here's another thing, William.
In the next couple of years,
if there is an undersea civilization, they're pretty well PO'd at us because we're really polluting their environment. We're throwing plastic bags by the bukus out there. They're finding plastic bags inside the whales and dolphins, and they would be pretty PO'd at us. I wouldn't surprise me a bit if they didn't attack us eventually. And I wouldn't blame them because of what we're doing to the ocean,
Right, exactly. And then, you got one or two, do they have the capability of going from salt water to fresh water? Because there has been so many reports of them being seen in fresh water also. Or is this two distinctively separate entities altogether?
Well, I'm going to explain something right quick for everybody listening out there. There is a fallacy here. Sirens, which were talked about in Greek legend, are not really supposedly mermaids, okay? Mermaids are different. Sirens are sort of like sorcerers. They're like sea witches. Really, that's basically what they are.
Sea witch.
And
yep.
So a lot of confusion over that. People keep mixing the sirens up with the mermaids, and that's not good because they're two completely different things. Here, I just want to mention that right off. But a lot of there, and like we've talked about this before. A lot of folklore talks about these strange women in lakes and ponds and even the ocean that lure men to their death, and drown. And look at sailors. Sailors had a big fear of being drowned by mermaids. Think about it. That was one way to get, to me, there is a malevolent side to this, an almost demonic-like demeanor to these things. They're actually going out trying to trap men and drown them for what nefarious purposes, except just to kill somebody. But that's not good. So I don't see mermaids as being, kind of like the Walt Disney Little Mermaid. I don't see that. Mermaids are kind of a very dark side to them,
Well, you got the sirens that
and they're not.
will do their melody or their melodic chant, and hypnotize you. And sometimes they can whisper in the wind your name, and it'll sound familiar to you, like it's a loved one, just to crash you on the rocks.
What that basically was like a spell, Gerald. They would like put a spell on you. and lure you to the rocks and kill you. That was what the whole thing was about. And the interesting thing about the spell would make you hear the voices of your loved ones calling you. Ulysses, or Odysseus, as he's also called, told his men to tie me to the mast, and no matter what I say, don't turn me loose. And he had all of his men stuff their ears with wax, candle wax, to keep from hearing the song of the sirens. And he almost went insane because he could hear Penelope, his wife, calling him in the wind and the waves. He almost lost his mind. So their spell was very potent. They were dark sorcerers, really, or sorceresses. That was their whole name on that. So they're really not the mermaids that we're talking about. Yeah.
So if you're ever out in the woods and you hear the same kind of thing, I mean, if you're out there and you find a body of water and you see a female figure or whatever, there's all kinds of cryptids and things out there that will make you think you're seeing a beautiful woman calling your name, and you guess what it is,
Yeah, that's what I say. That sounds downright demonic, doesn't it? I mean, for somebody to appear to look like something else or a beautiful woman just to lure you to your death, that's not good. That's not a good thing. I'll be very careful. If you happen to see walking along the shore of the lake, a beautiful woman come out of the water, starts motion for you to come on in with her, I would think twice about it. Because that's not good. That's not a good sign. But now when you get to Arthurian legend, the Lady of the Lake, she was sort of like an elemental spirit. She was sort of a spirit of nature, but yet she was attached to the water, to the lake itself. She is the one, that brought up the sword Excalibur, and also retrieved it when they threw it back in the lake. So you have women associated with the lake. Beautiful women are associated with bodies of water in that respect with folklore.
Yeah, you have all kinds of folklore and everything about lakes and water. You have ones, like you just said, that are actually part of the environment, part of the water, and they can appear as a human form. Or you can have the ones that actually died in the lakes and the ponds, and then their spirit or they're haunted and come up, just to try to lure you in to kill you.
Well, that's like the La Llorona, the weeping woman. She's always seen by bodies of water because her children drown and she wants to drown yours. Oh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, yeah. Yeah, the Fishman, yeah. That's another interesting facet, yeah. So you got a lot of this stuff. This goes way back to ancient history.
I mean, exactly. And that's my point. There's so many different things that are mentioned in the text of the Bible. Giants, amphibious peoples, beings, you name it. I mean, UFOs are mentioned in the Bible. I mean, it's amazing that the amount of information.
Look at Jonah. He got swallowed by a whale. Think about that. That's an interesting story. And said God prepared a
I
big
often wondered if that was USO.
Well, it depends on how you interpret the biblical text.
The Bible talks about the Leviathan. We don't even know what that is. The Leviathan, we don't know if it's a demon or some huge monster. To this day, that's an unknown thing of the Bible. So there's a lot of mention in ancient history about these things, especially the mystery of the ocean. One of the first paranormal books I ever read when I was a kid was The Mysteries of the Sea, and that kind of hooked me on that. The sea is a very mysterious area. You've got the Flying Dutchman, you've got Davy Jones's locker, you've got all this stuff, along with the UFOs and USOs. You've got the ghost ships. You've got the Palatine Light. You ever heard of the Palatine Light? That's the actual ghost ship that's seen on fire, you know. So you got a lot of superstition and folklore attached to the ocean. That goes definitely with the mermaids and the
Yeah.
mermen.
Yeah, I just find it a really fascinating subject, guys. And just from doing like even the Mothman research, this is how I came across it too. I was doing the research for the Mothman part of this episode, and you know, looking for the pictures and stuff that that we can post on here, while discuss it and all that, and it just it caught my eye, and then it really just intrigued me to read more about it, because the more you read about the amphibians and being connected to the Bible and being connected to, like, you see it in the building structures in India. You see that the human with the reptilian snake kind of a bottom half. You see it in the Egyptian hieroglyphs. It's amazing how many cultures talk about it, and they talked about it like it was just a normal thing. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
a stone blow from over here is
look at the Egyptian god with the head of a crocodile. You had that was common knowledge in Egypt. Where that definitely. And here's another thing about ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was tied to the Nile big time. The Nile was the big thing in Egypt, just like the Amazon is in Amazon River is in South America, or the Mississippi River is in North America. The Nile, with all the crocodiles and all that, also has a lot of legend of women being seen in the Nile luring men to their death. This is all over the world. It's not just in one area.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. I just noticed something. The eyes behind me make it look like I have horns.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier. Didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So if you go back in the ancient times, they don't have the language to describe stuff like we do. So you got to take it in context that they were going to describe something that they know it visually and everybody would recognize. So you could have a human species with an alligator or crocodile head because they actually saw somebody that was, say, an alien or reptilian species that had a crocodile head.
That goes to the reptilian side a little bit. But, like I said before on these programs, the demonic has always been personified as reptilian, okay? No matter what culture you go to worldwide. Well, the same thing with the amphibians. They had to come up with something to recognize some of this amphibian stuff that they were seeing or talking about. And, of course, the crocodile was perfect for that. They had to describe the things they saw with what they knew. You understand what I'm saying? Just like we do today, If you were to see a UFO that looked like a Tic Tac, we know what a Tic Tac is, but the people 100 years from now, I don't know what the heck that is, So, it's just what we see and equate things with, That's one thing you got to take into consideration when you talk about folklore, the time period in which it is in,
Well, that's just like Ezekiel, the wheel inside the wheel. I mean, they didn't know how to describe it, so most likely it was a UFO.
Yeah. So they had to go with what? Well, like the Bible, Elijah and the fiery chariot. If you saw somebody leaving a UFO, and you didn't know what a UFO, you would say, that looks like a chariot to me. Yeah, because you know what a chariot is, see? So that's people got to understand. You got to look through their eyes at what it is they're saying or trying to describe,
So basically, what if we go off the rails a little bit here with this whole subject matter now? Since I'm driving it, not even really driving it. It's like going on its own. But other things that have been mentioned in the Bible, angels and stuff, and fallen angels and demons, and what if those are descriptions of like the Mothman that we were going to talk? What if
Well,
the Mothman is a demon or a fallen angel?
Lilith, who was supposed to be Adam's first wife, is actually described in the Bible as a screech owl. So you have cockatrice mentioned in the Bible. We still to this day don't really know what the heck a cockatrice is. We don't know if it's some kind of a snake or what it was. Of course, people back in folkloric times tried to make it into some kind of a monster. They made paintings of and drawings of it, but we still don't know what a cockatrice really was. So you have a lot of mysteries in old books like the Bible, that we still don't know about. Look at the Bible mentions the unicorn, which you think was probably a rhinoceros, okay? But we're not sure. So you got a lot of interesting mysteries there.
You get in Revelation with John's vision, of the end times and what's happening at the throne room. You get all kinds of creatures and stuff that we don't know. We can just go by what they describe. We don't know what they are. They could be a reptilian. It could be any of those races that we think of, but they don't know how to describe them.
Look at the Medusa. The Medusa, the woman with the snakes in her hair, it could turn you into stone. The reptilian thing is always demonic. It's always represented as being evil, something bad.
Well, I mean, even with that though being said about the reptilian part of it, I am a firm believer that a lot of these entities that they talk about in the old texts of the Bible, and all that, the Ethiopian Bible, because it had some of the missing books from the Bible that were taken out. The writings of Enoch, the book of Enoch, talks about Enoch going up into outer space in the UFO and all that, and seeing the earth and all that from above. The
book of Tobit is very interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many, and there's so many books out there from other religions that correspond with it, that talk about the same exact things. The Kabbalah talks about it. So it's like, it has to be fact. You have to take it, value, yes. Like hold, 5 ounces of air in your hand, not knowing there's any air in your hand, but because you can't see it and feel it. But you have to take it for what it is. I mean, if the ancient people that lived here wrote about it and described it as much, then it had to have existed. Okay, it wasn't imaginary. Okay, now my whole reason for bringing in this podcast, calling it Becoming Monsters, is to correlate to see if those things do exist, to see what makes them work, what makes them tick, what they hunger for, what they strive to do, what's their family units like, what's their way of thinking and seeing things like, are they intelligent? First off, I think we got that covered, because mankind's proven itself to be the dumbest thing on the planet right now. And I think we can all agree with that, So, but, killing each other and destroying the planet is all that we seem to be able to do anymore. So, that being said, but, you got, like you said, you got the alligator, the birded, amphibious ones, got the and stuff that's being seen. You got a lake where in Oklahoma that's got a huge octopus in it. Octopus in a freshwater lake. I mean, there is so many fast mysteries that are out there, and that haven't been discovered yet. And
Well, here's
mankind scientists are arrogant enough that they know it all.
Here's what we got to take into account, William. Animals are very highly adaptive on this planet. Okay, man is very adaptive. Mankind is, and certainly all the animals around us are. It would not surprise me if you found a freshwater octopus. Okay, if it, look, just the other day, not far from where I live, this young fella in the lake caught a piranha. Okay. Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've actually seen the Israeli Coast Guard films on that, and they do not look like human women. Okay, according to what if that's not fakery, that's what you see. They're not really good-looking gals. Okay, they're not the Little Mermaid from Walt Disney. Definitely not. But anyway, what I was gonna say is that these 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 beings would definitely be malevolent in some aspects by the very nature of what they do. And I think the Israeli Coast Guard thing kind of proved that a little bit. If it's real, like I say, there again, so much is fake nowadays. You don't know really what you're looking at. But I'm just saying, if it was real, it would be definitely downright almost demonic looking. They look like sea demons or something.
Right, yeah.
I've actually seen films that some Japanese fishermen supposedly took of these things, and they do not look at all human.
Right, yeah. What do you think, Gerald? What do you think they look like?
I don't know. They could be a hybrid even. Who knows what they are? I mean, it could be just a freak of nature and, be what they are, mermaid or amphibious people, or it could be some kind of hybrid where maybe they have mated with humans way back.
Yep. See,
Interesting.
my wife Tracy and I, we have seen some really weird things in our lifetime.
Tracy's comment there. Mothman is a whole nother ball game altogether. But I believe there are certain aspects, Tracy, the Mothman actually was brought about by black magic of some sort in certain instances. I don't think he's a true cryptid. I think he's either from interdimensional or he's downright demonic. The sun was a brilliant orange.
So we categorize Mothman as supernatural.
Well, there's been so many reports of Mothman now that they're not even always in the same original location. So is there more than one Mothman? Is there a species of them? Is there more than one type of Mothman? Because up here in the Midwest, we're getting all kinds of reports. Everything that looks from a human with wings or a gargoyle shape. I mean, there's all kinds of descriptions of them.
Let me say this. I went to where Mothman was sighted, to the original place where the TNT factory was in West Virginia. And I traced the route that they took that night on their way back to town. And they were supposedly doing about 90 miles an hour going down through that highway. And if this thing could keep up with them, this was no ordinary animal. I wouldn't say it's not an animal-like thing. This was something extraordinary. I don't know of too many things like that can fly at 90 miles an hour and keep up with a car, scratch the top of the car, and all this other stuff. To me, sounds to me like it's either demonic or interdimensional type of a being, but it doesn't sound like something that belongs on this earth.
Well, just like in our nature, if you go out hunting and you're at night, anything that glows red for the eyes is a predator and a killer, let alone demonic, if you bring that into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we've always said. Anything with red eyes, usually you can count on it being connected to the demonic.
Yep, you can count on red eyes being demonic in nature. Definitely. And even you can even probably go so far as the orange glowing eyes too, because that's close enough to red. It's like we've always said, the eyes are the window to the soul, and we all know demons out their soul, they're going to have red eyes. Sorry, that's just the truth of it, folks. So we can say they're interdimensional, we can say supernatural, but they are demonic in nature when they have red eyes. Okay. Now I'm going to throw a curve at you guys. Okay. I'm going to throw a curve at everybody in the chat tonight. Okay. I want you to think about what we've talked about so far for the first hour. Okay. The whole gambit, with the UFOs being connected to the amphibians and how intelligent the amphibians are. And, are the amphibians, ancient race of that lives here, for man, evolved or whatever, or was made or created. And then, the whole demonic connection, supernatural connection to Mothman. I'm going to throw a curve at everybody, and I'm going to throw shapeshifters into the mix. Okay. Now I want everybody to just start talking about shapeshifters for a minute, and let's get into that topic, because what if what we're seeing isn't really a cryptid? What if it's an alien race that is shapeshifting into all these different beings that they might have experienced at some other off-world location or planet? You see what I'm saying? What if they're trying to see how we react?
Also, William, you got to remember something, okay? And I've made this statement before, and I'll stand behind it because I've seen this with my own eyes, okay? The demonic is prime number one in shape-shifting, okay? It's prime number one in shape-shifting. And let's look at the other flip side of the demonic, okay? They don't come from this world. What are they? They're aliens to that extent.
I'll be right back.
Okay, they don't belong to this world. They didn't come from this world. You understand what I'm saying? So they are true aliens, whatever name you want to tag them with. The demonic is that fits the bill every which way you look around that equation. To me, it makes perfect sense, because they are, like I say, premier shapeshifters. They really got it down pat.
Yeah, I think that's why we get reports of say Bigfoot being a hairy man, because they're transforming, or they catch them in mid glitch, of going from one to the other, or even how they can be interdimensional. All of a sudden you see them and then you don't. That's how they get away, or how people are reporting not being able to find them after they go look for them.
Here's another interesting aspect to think about, Gerald. What if, okay, let's say Sasquatch is normally part of nature on this planet, okay? And the demonic sees that, and they say, hey, we can use that too. We can use that shape. We can shift into that shape if we want to, How do we know that sometimes, or Dogman, how do we know that some of this stuff might be used by the demonic? Because they are premier shapeshifters. And I have seen them take images just like Slender Man, which was made up on, and the Rake, it was made up on the internet, okay? But I've seen them, they are now using those images. Okay, like I told you before, they're opportunists. So it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't using cryptid images for their whatever purposes they're up to,
I truly believe that Sasquatch was an indigenous species here on Earth, whether we were here at the same time or they precede us here on Earth. So it would make sense that another, either demonic or another alien race, would be able to use that image, because whether you consider the caveman or whatever was around at the time would get used to that that species being around.
Yeah. I'm going to answer Darcy's thing here. It says, Dennis, William, Joe, do you guys think gargoyles and Mothman are possible two separate beings? Yes, they are. They're completely two different things, really. Although they have similar attributes, they're really different. And I'll say this without a doubt. The gargoyle is demonic, without a doubt. And I think Mothman is their first cousin, okay? I think Mothman falls in that category. What do you think, girl?
Yeah, definitely gargoyles are demonic. I mean, there is no doubt. Anywhere you read about them in history or anybody that's ever described them, it's always been demonic. And that's the feeling I get from them. And the Mothman, there's two different theories, whether it's demonic or it's a precursor to something bad going to happen. So is he a purveyor or an omen, letting you know something bad is going to happen? Other than a report of them scratching the car and chasing that first couple on that road, they've been around like when the bridges have fell. Did they cause the bridge to fall, or were they telling us the bridge was going to fall?
Well, some people try to attribute good things to Mothman, but I don't see anything good that he's done. He's always been around some bad stuff, especially like the bridge and all that. But here I'm going to tell you another curse. What if the demonic can also bring forth beings from other dimensions? Could not Mothman be one of those? You got to think about that too. If they can take on shapes, but they could also bring forth beings from other dimensions, that would explain a lot of things too. And the demonic sorcery, we know black magic opens these doorways to other places or other things. We know that without a doubt. That's part of what black magic is all about. And if you do that, then could you not summon interdimensional beings through there? Not only just demons, but interdimensional beings as well. I have heard a lot of people have claimed that the Mothman that's been sighted so much around the Chicago O'Hare Airport, a lot of black sorcerers claim they brought it from some other dimension.
Absolutely. We always go back to it. There's all kinds of literature that talks about, sorcerers or witches or whatever you want to call them at the time, that they have always summoned people. They bring people back to life, or at least the image of that, it might be a demonic person coming to you, but it's going to be the image of the person that you know.
Well, let me tell you a quick story, and I heard about this. You remember the Hurricane Katrina? Well, it was the sad part of some of the government officials that they had to go in after the hurricane and look for dead bodies. That's what you do. Somebody's got to do it. And they actually found this in a house, and this was right outside of New Orleans. They found a house, this woman chained to a wall, her corpse, okay? And they said that they had to tag that house. I think they spray paint a symbol on that house. There's a dead body there, Well, they went in there and they said she was chained to the wall. I couldn't understand why she was chained. And she looked awful. And they said she was dead, okay? And while they were standing there writing up whatever it does, she said she lifted her head up and laughed at them. Okay? And then put her head back down. She was dead, okay? That sounds like demonic reanimation of the dead, okay? So that's part of black magic. If you can do stuff like that, voodoo stuff like that, you can do other things as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of these people are not bringing forth some of these things from another dimension.
So the other night, me and Chiro, my wife Jane, were sitting there talking, and this happened to be one of the subjects that we brought up. And it was from her that she said that, okay, we have heard of people, witches or occults, being out in the woods, and they do their ceremonies or rituals, and they open up a portal and they leave it open. So is that where all this cryptid activity and demons and everything are coming through, because they're leaving this open?
Yeah, and that's just like leaving the door open to your house at night. You don't want to do that. You might wake up with somebody in there you don't want.
First thing, anybody out there first anything about magic, whether it's white magic or black magic, and take it from somebody who's done both in his lifetime. Anybody that would be stupid enough to leave a portal to another realm open from a ceremony, to me, wouldn't have the brain capacity to open a portal to begin with.
Well,
That's
you know what they say. You know what it's kind of like a 5-year-old with a loaded revolver. Something bad's going to happen sooner or later. That's how stupid people are, William.
Well, maybe they're messing with the portal, and they finally got it open, by just hitting the right words, the right ritual, and then they didn't know how to close it.
Yeah, that's possible. I've seen evidence of that. Yeah.
But the one thing you guys are forgetting too, okay, is that nature itself can open portals.
Oh yeah. That's a natural thing too. Yeah. I think it's a naturally occurring thing. There's certain areas where that happens, and I think that you have a lot of activity in those areas directly attributed to these open portal doors or whatever you want to call them. I think also dark science, can open these portals when they want to as well. Who knows what the heck they're doing?
Well, they just reported that scientists now are going to have the capability in the next couple of years to actually make a Stargate or open portals whenever they want to. They're trying to develop it for space travel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And don't think for 1 minute that the demonic doesn't know all about this stuff. Okay, they know all about it because they are untold millions of years old. They have preternatural knowledge of things we don't even begin to know about. That's what the intelligence of these
what
things.
About, and what about the pastor? Remember the pastor that we talked about, Dennis, that was in his in the church, in the basement of the church, doing their whatever they were doing about researching the Men in Black, and how the Men in Black actually came up in a demonic form to them while they were researching it to threaten them. And he said the whole church just shook like an earthquake.
Yeah. He said,
I talked
to him about that incident. I talked with him about that incident. It got cold too. The room got cold almost to the point where you could see your breath, which is a sure sign you're coming, because I've had that happen to me. It's a sure sign of what you're fixing to run into. But here's the interesting thing about all of this.
Exactly.
They know without a doubt how to open these things and move through them. And I think, and I've said this before many times, the demonic uses these things to move from place to place, from reality to reality, from moment to moment. That's got to be the way the spiritual energy travels.
Well, it's like everything else. I mean, if they're actually interdimensional, or say they're on a different realm than us, say their consciousness is higher than us, so they have almost an omnipresence, where if you talk about them or you see a UFO or an alien species and you're getting ready to report them, they're going to know.
You're going to get their attention if you're not careful. Yeah. Which is not good, by the way.
But it's got to all be connected. And the only thing that I can actually say that makes sense to connect everything that's going on right now with all these cryptid creatures and the UFOs and stuff that's being seen is either interdimensional or demonic in nature. So, that's the only two that I personally think that it could be. I don't know about what people in the chat think, but
I would think interdimensional and demonic go hand in hand. If you're demonic, you're going to be interdimensional.
I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to let my own thought processes here. Okay. Now, when I think about aliens, I think about fallen angels. I think about demons because they are the true aliens, I think, that are really infestating this planet. Uh, to me, that's what makes more sense than some bug-eyed alien from Centauri somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and they have the power to open these portals. They have a lot of things they can do, and that's how you connect with them. That's how you connect with the power. And like I said on your show, Gerald, and I'm gonna be talking about this Sunday night on Demonology Today, the Black Magic Connection. It's gonna be at 9 o'clock Sunday night on YouTube. If you look at it this way, you got to remember one thing. All the cards on the table when it comes to the demonic, when it comes to black magic, or whatever name you want to stick on this, all the cards are wild. Anything can happen with this. Anything could be going on, you know?
Yep.
So let me see what I can pull up here. I don't know if I can pull it up or not, but maybe not.
So if you're gonna go down the demonic route, if you're gonna, if it's whether you're saying it's the reptilians or aliens and are actually demonic spirits or whatever, so then is there purpose just to get our souls? Is that what they're after? Since they would not have one if they're demonic?
It's not just the soul. They want to destroy us, actually. That's what it's all about. They hate us. It's like a revenge kind of thing with them. You understand what I mean? They're out to get revenge. They're out to get us because, well, number one, they hate God or the Creator, or whatever name you want to give Him. Number two, they hate us because He created us higher than they are. That's the main thrust. It's all about revenge, kind of a thing, you know. That's what they're out, and they'll go about their nefarious. First of all, the plan is they want to enslave us. And then when they have us right where they want us, then they'll kill us. And hopefully, by killing us, take our souls as well. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did a Demonology Today on what I call the demonic plan. And that's what it basically is. Although there are different ways you can go about it. But that is the main thrust of the demonic plan. And that's what's coming upon the world. This is what's being instituted. That's what all these rich people, these cabals, these shadow governments, all of these different things are being used and utilized by these dark forces for their own purposes. And that purpose is the actual destruction of mankind.
So if you're under a demonic possession and they end up killing you, do they get your soul? Is that what the end goal is? Is that what
they
you
don't
believe?
get your soul? They don't get your soul. As I think Jesus said in the Bible, Gerald, the thief comes to kill, to steal, and destroy. They kill everything, every hope that you could have had. They will steal everything that could have been yours. They're stealing this world, okay? They're stealing everything. They're a bunch of thieves. They're the worst thieves you could imagine. And the other thing is they want to destroy you in the process. They're like a spiritual time bomb going on. They don't care who they kill and who they take with them. They're going down. Let me make this one quick statement. They're going down. They know they're going down, and they're going to take as many of us with them as they can. That's the way the demonic works. I've actually seen demonic spirits leave places, and I've talked about this before. Not do they ever leave in some fashion that just slowly go away and they say, "Oh, bye, I'm leaving." No. They don't leave that way. They usually leave with a loud noise. They knock something over. They're very destructive in their output, whichever way it is. They will scratch you on their way out, whatever the case may be. They never leave in a good way. They always leave in a bad way, like a bomb going on, you know? And that's what these forces are up to.
Well, I was just going by the comment you said earlier, something about them wanting your soul. I mean, I obviously don't believe that, being brought up a Christian my whole life. I know exactly where I'm going, but I was just curious on, when you brought up that
Well,
subject,
they
that
don't.
they want to kill you and get your soul.
Well, let's look at the human soul a minute, girl. Okay, it's intangible. Okay, you can't put it in a jar. You can't hold it in your hand. The human soul belongs to you. You are a living soul. Your soul belongs to you. The only way you can sell your soul, okay, the only way you can give your soul away is to go over to the other side completely, 100%. Say, I'm going with the bad guys. This is it. I'm going to have a card. I'm going with them, okay? And I sell myself over to that. That's the way I want to think. That's the way I want to be. That's the way I go. My whole nature goes 100% to the darkness, or it either goes to the light. Okay? There used to be an old saying, you can't sit on the fence very long. Sooner or later, your butt's going to hurt. You know? So you got to go down on one side or the other. That's it. You got to go down on one side or the other. And that's how you sell your soul. You can give your soul to God in a good way, to the goodness, or you can give it to the badness in a bad way. That's what dooms you. Okay.
You can have a
And
big budgie.
and no demon, no angel, nobody from heaven can come down and take your soul away from you. It belongs to you. You have to give it away. You understand what I'm saying? They can't
Right.
take it.
I believe that. I was just
You
going
have
for the
to give it.
purposes of what was being said.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying that's the way that ball rolls. But I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm doomed. I sold my soul." I said, "Okay, I said, look, I don't care if you signed a contract in blood. Okay, if you sign a contract, your soul is still yours until the last breath leaves your body. Okay." And unless you sell your soul, when you give it away, you give it over to this, you become what we call in terminology, the spiritual terminology, a lost soul. Okay, you know what that means? You're doomed. You're going past the point of no return. You ain't coming back from that dark road. Okay, you're lost. You're doomed. Your soul is gone, really. Okay, because you gave it away though. Nobody took it from you. Nobody can steal it from you. Nobody can make you sign a contract and take it from you unless you agree to it.
Right.
That's just the way that works. Yeah.
Okay. Now, since we're getting into this whole
Good sense. I don't know that I have experience over the years with him. Will say your grandmother standing or something like that. I don't see her. Well, some people can, Tracy. Some people can sense things that others can't, and we're more open to some things because we have that connection to those people. Sometimes, you may not have the same connection that William has to his grandmother because she wasn't your grandmother. So there's a different kind of a connection thing going on. I've had that happen. I've had a lot of people say, I couldn't see so and so. My wife could see her daddy, but I couldn't see him. I said, well, she had a connection to it. That's a different story.
And just going back to what we were talking to before, he say it's a grandmother or grandfather that you're very close to. They may only want you to see him and nobody else.
Exactly. That connection.
True. Very true. Very true. And now, when it comes down to seeing things, we all know. I mean, if you all know me, I see things all the time. I literally every day of my life I walk in both worlds. You can ask my lovely wife Tracy. You can ask her firsthand that she'll be talking to me and I'll be staring off somewhere while it's not there. In her eyes, it's not there, but what I see is
dogs,
there. Now,
dogs and cats do that a lot too. If you notice, Dogs and cats do that a lot too. I see things sometimes. Okay, I think we all,
Right now,
if we try to perceive it enough, we all can pick up on that to a certain extent. Others can do it better than some. You know what I'm saying?
Well, even people probably out in your chat or
now
out in the
Bigfoot.
audience. I mean, if they've ever seen just a little glimpse on their peripheral vision, like a shadow or like somebody's there and they turn around, nobody's there, they're in tune to that. They just have not developed it all the way yet.
Right. That's true.
Right. But I see it. I see it more. I see it more than just my peripheral. I feel it. I can hear them. I can see them. You know, and it's not just
You're more tuned.
Humans. It's
more
everything.
in tune with it. You're more in tune with it, William. That's what it is. Yeah.
I'm just referring to the people out there that might not believe that you can see the other side or other things piercing the veil coming to you. But a normal person, I mean, I started out that way where I'd see something on my peripheral vision, whether it was a dark spot or a shadow, and I'm thinking somebody's coming, and I turn around, nobody's there. I mean, that's how it all starts. You just got to have it. You start concentrating on it and start defining, what that is, and start working on it.
And that's why a lot of people near death have their experiences. They see things at that precise moment that their perception has changed.
All right.
That makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do on a regular basis is in mind I'm constantly saying thank you, or thinking of something to say thank you to my family that's passed on, to my friends that are passed on, to even pets that have passed on, because there's so much of this life that we don't know. Okay, there's so much of this whole life in this body that we can't grasp at all, that we don't see, that we don't hear, that we don't feel, that we should hear, that we should see, and that we should feel, but we don't. Okay, or at least the majority
for weeks
mankind doesn't. Me personally, I do.
For weeks after my mother passed away, she wore a certain perfume, and for weeks, I mean months, I could every once in a while I would get a whiff of that perfume. But it's kind of comforting. It's sort of like, hey, it's okay. I'm kind of still here, kind of a thing. I'm still watching over you or whatever. Exactly. I consider something like that. When you see something like that, I consider that sort of a gift from God. It's sort of a comfort, for a spiritual comforting thing for you, personally. There's nothing wrong with that.
I wonder if, and this is something that I've always wondered too, and I have no idea how to even answer this or how to even, make a theory of it, of how it could happen. But I wonder if the cryptids can do that too, have that special, like some of us have, with seeing things and hearing things and communicating with things, and smelling things. I wonder.
I don't doubt it, William, if they're spiritual creatures, like I think some of them are. If they any type of a spiritual, that includes dogs and cats. Okay, I think they have a spirit. Any living thing that has a spirit, I believe, has that capacity.
Right.
Yeah, we're all connected. I mean, if this like for you, William, and the native people, you're all connected to Earth. You all have these connections that you guys in your beliefs have about nature and Earth and the wind and fire. And I believe it's the same for everybody. We all have that connection one way or another. Some might have better abilities than we do. And obviously they can, like it says in there, where where people hear voices of loved ones. Well, the demonic can
But,
do that as long as so can angels.
the Irish are that way. The Irish
Yeah.
are very close to the land. Certain people are that way. I think back in more primitive times, we all had that, but we lost it. A lot of us lost it coming forward in time. I think people 200 years ago were more in tune with it now than we can't possibly be. You know, that's what I think.
Well,
Right.
even us these days, when you're born,
Right.
you know, and you start growing up and you're at an adolescence and you start having an imaginary friend. Well, is that friend really imaginary, or do we grow up and then tune that out?
Yeah, I've often
Right.
wondered about that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. True. True. You know, and then another way of looking at that too, is, you know, I can't remember where I heard it from, but I know it was a pastor or a minister that I heard it from, one of those that I watch, and because I'm forever trying to study other, you know, religious beliefs and all that, and gather that knowledge. And he said that basically a year in kind's time is like equivalent to a day in God's time. Like the old text of the Bible type of time. Okay. He said that's like say somebody was, I don't know, like the Sumerian tablets. Take the King's List. Okay, the Sumerian King's List is a perfect example. Okay, they labeled several of them as being, one was like 73,000 years old, another was like 40,000 years old, and basically you take the years and you take away and make it, you know, the one day out of, you know, out of a year, and add that up, and you have the exact age of that individual back in that time. And I can't remember the pastor's name that said it. He had the whole Bible code mapped out.
I think that.
Apparently there's mathematical code. Yeah, I can't remember who it was for the life of me. But he really took it and just, you know, every part of the Bible, he said that there is just a mathematical code.
Here's the thing about it, William. Okay, when the world got originally screwed up in the book of Genesis, they talk about it. When the world got originally screwed up, the first man made by God, Adam, and the first woman, Eve, they were very close to God. You understand? They were the children of God. He made them. He breathed life into them and made them living souls. They were the essence of the creation of God. The further away you get from that creation, the less you become. You know what I'm saying? You lose it little bit by little bit. The Bible has said many times, each generation grows weaker and wiser. Okay?
Right.
That's just the way that progression goes. Yeah.
I gotta answer. I gotta talk. Let Castor Pollux 15 know this. When I was in the military, I had several incidences where I met things, and I used the word thing. You know, I have experienced the jinn. Okay, I have experienced the demons. I have experienced cryptids. You know, without the red eyes, being experienced, seeing things in the water, things coming out of the water, you know, firsthand on a carrier. And I talked to other people that saw things, and yes, there is A lot of people think that this is the craziest thing in the world, and I'm going to just put it out there to everybody. We are definitely not the only beings living on this planet. There
Oh
are
no,
beings out there that can make themselves look exactly like we are. Okay,
I've met them. I've
humans.
met some too.
They are
I've met some like that too.
they are walking around. Yeah, they are walking around every minute of the day just as much as we are. Okay, they are driving vehicles just as much as you are. Okay, they are grocery shopping just as much as you are. Okay, they are here. There is a lot of, okay, there, it's been estimated in the SAPS program of the military. Okay, they have estimated that there has probably somewhere between, say 12.5 million to 15 million aliens. Okay, shape-shifting aliens that are living on this planet among us, that walk among us every day. Okay, and that's why before I left for that, I had to take a break. Um, Before I left, I brought up the shapeshifter thing and the connection to the UFOs and the Bigfoot and the Mothman and all that, and the supernatural. I wanted to see what everybody thought because they are here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, plain
I've met them. I know
and,
they are. I've seen them. Yeah.
People can choose. People can choose to deny it. They can choose not to see it. But I'm telling you guys, everyone out there listening, you've got to understand, it's going to come to fruition. You are going to see them. Okay, they are going to make themselves known eventually. Okay,
And I'll make
whether it's
I'll
good
make
or
this
bad,
statement
I
too.
don't know.
I'll make this statement too. Okay, everything you see may not be what it appears to be. Don't take it at face value. Okay, trust me, I've been there and I know.
There's tons of videos out there that are live videos where it's just ordinary people doing their thing, and all of a sudden their eye goes into a slit, like a reptilian. And if they try to say there's medical condition and stuff for that, but if your body, your iris only opens and closes in a circle, it gets smaller, it gets big. It does not go in a slit like an animal.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So they're out there. You just got to pay attention and look at the signs.
See. Yeah.
That's like I said. I think it was on your show.
And some of them are even in the military.
It's like I said on your show, Gerald. You may walk down the street and look into the face of an angel, or it could be the face of a murderer. We don't know what. You don't know who you're going to meet. I mean, it's just that simple. And believe me, it's real. What we're talking about is not made up stuff here, people, okay? We're talking about real things here, the real world, what's really going on in this world, but they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to think about that, but that's par for the course. Okay?
Yep. We talked about it on my show, and I physically saw a person at a shopping center. It's a big shopping center, and they're in the frozen section. They're just sitting there, blank stare on their face, just looking, not moving, not doing anything. And so I'm starting to pay attention to this person. Then all of a sudden, he turned straight to me, like he knew I was paying attention to him, and it had the darkest eyes I've ever seen. And I've never seen anybody with dark eyes like that. Never.
Yeah.
There was that was not, that gave me no human presence whatsoever in that body.
Exactly.
I'm reading Tracy's little story she's telling here. That doesn't surprise me a bit, Tracy, because some people can open those doors, can pull aside that veil in certain ways, and you can experience that. Yes, that's true. Also, too.
Yeah,
smell. You can be haunted. You can be haunted by smells, not just seeing things, but hearing things, can hear things, smells, feel things. You can even, like I said, that investigation I was doing in Charleston that night, I felt a female presence there. It brushed my cheek, just like I would do that right there. Come to find out, that's where the bodies of female prostitutes was. I mean, it made sense. Like bell went off in my head. Hey, that made sense what I experienced. So there can be different types of hauntings, if you want to term them hauntings, visitations, or whatever you want to call them. There can be all different kinds of types on those things.
Yeah, people reported, and even my wife, has smelled her father's cherry tobacco. I've smelled it in the air, obviously it's a happy memory for her. And the same way with, say, grandma's perfume shows up to people, or grandma baking a blueberry pie. They smell that pie. It's just all something very familiar to us that makes us happy.
Oh yeah, and I had an investigation one time where we kept smelling the cigar smoke. There was nobody there smoking. There was nobody around. I mean, this was not a lived-in house. Okay, it was nothing like that. We kept smelling this cigar smoke. I even went outside one time to make sure it wasn't somebody standing out in the yard or coming the wind blowing that way or what. Nothing. Come to find out later, and it was like a year later, that the guy that lived in that house, that died in that house, loved his cigars. That was an interesting little.
Let's take this one step higher than just talking to the spirit world or other dimensions and all that, or opening up portals and all that, because we know that there are people with abilities that can do that. But everybody, you have to understand that the way I am right now. You can even ask Tracy in the chat if I have like I talk to animals, okay, and they talk back to me and they listen, and they react how I tell them to react, and it's not just animals; it's insects, and Tracy can tell you. Tracy can tell you for a fact that I have praying mantises that come to visit me. I have bumblebees that come visit me. In fact, I got one bumblebee that I basically have as a pet. His name is Buddy. And every time I go outside, I talk to him. He's hanging around my shoulder, and he protects me from all the wasps that are flying around in summer. So,
William, I used to go out on my porch every day, and I whistle, and I would whistle, and here comes this butterfly. It was a big monarch butterfly, right. And it would come and it would light on my arm every day for I would say weeks. It's just like we had a rapport on it. You know what I mean? Really strange.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and it, people can call it strange all they want. I call it being connected. Okay, we have a thing about being connected to the whole universe. Okay, to the medicine wheel. Chief Seattle said it best. What we do to the web, we do to ourselves, because we are all connected. We believe in rock medicine. Okay, we believe in the medicine of the trees and the plants growing beneath the trees. We believe in the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And trying to communicate and all that with all the elements, okay, all the essence of this world that we're in, okay, and all the worlds that are around us and cocoon us in this envelope, okay. And the one thing that I've always come to understand, and I'm gonna show you an example, okay. I want you all to consider this, and I tried talking about it with Bigfoot Michigan Rob the other night, okay, on in the chat, and some of you were in the chat out there that are in the at the night. I talked about the time ripple, okay. Now the time ripple effect is basically, you have your dimensions, okay, and your timelines, okay, and they're like this. They're on top of each other, okay, two pieces of paper. You see that gap? Okay, you see that gap? Okay, say the top paper is the timeline and the bottom paper is current. Okay, this is what the timeline is going to do. It's going to touch periodically. Okay, timeline is going to bend because time is never standing still. Mankind is the only thing in the universe that puts a limit on time. Okay, time is always constantly moving. Okay, it's always moving. Okay, moving
Time's
so
like
fast.
A river. Time is like a flowing river. And here's another thing about that, William. The man that steps in that river today, when he goes back and steps in that river tomorrow, won't be the same man.
Right.
You understand?
Right. Exactly.
That's
time. So
exactly.
along your lines, William, I think of us time as being a wave, and then there's another reality or alternate timeline underneath it's a wave. So then the two come down together to touch, and then they go back up their separate ways, and they come back down and touch again later.
Well, and you got to understand too that that's kind of like anybody that knows anything about the audio frequencies and like the sine wave and
right,
a
sine wave, yep.
Yeah, and how there's one that's curved and there's one that's like a bunch of pyramids and there's one that's really curved. I mean, time, there can be no example of time. Okay, time is like trying to say, okay, I've got 5 pounds of air in my hand. Okay. And somebody looking at me is going to go, okay, well, where's the container? Well, I've got 5 pounds of air in my hand. And I can tell that person over and over again, I've got 5 pounds of air in my hand. And I'll tell them to give me their hand. And I'll put my hand over theirs. And you watch, their hand will drop like it's weighted. Okay. That is the reality of things that we live in. Okay, that is the reality. There are monks all over the Himalayas that have been doing this for years. Okay, it's called energy manipulation. Okay, and since we are all energy, we can manipulate certain things. Some can manipulate a little bit of time. Some can manipulate solids. Some can manipulate, what we see, okay, and what we hear. But we cannot be putting limitations on things or setting our mind to something that says it's got to be this way, okay, or it's got to be that way, okay, because it's always going to fluctuate. It's always going to change, like Gerald said, And I kind of think it's like that too. You got time.
It's like Tesla said. Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Bingo.
Okay, that's what it's all about. And I would recommend everybody, if you don't have a copy of it, then you need to get the copy of the book Jadu. It was written by a very good author, and he actually went to Tibet and talked to the Tibetan monks. They would know him before he ever got there. Now, we're talking back in the days when there weren't any cell phones, there weren't any phones in the Himalayas, okay? And when he would get to the monastery, they said, "Good, welcome, come on in, we've been looking for you." They knew him. They called him by name.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
did they do that?
That's my whole point. That's my whole point, and I think it's kind of the point that Gerald was getting to too earlier, with the soul thing and all that, being able to control that, because that's energy. Okay. And I don't believe that anything can take our soul without our permission. That's just me. That's just my belief in it. That doesn't that doesn't make it fact. Okay. That's just me. But we've got to like quit putting our mind frame, that we got to quit categorizing things. We got to quit trying to put things in a perspective that only certain people can understand. What's to understand about time? Time is here. Time is there. Time is above. Time is below. And time is ever moving like a river. Okay? What's to understand about time? We didn't have clocks in this country until we're invented. Why? Why do we need to know that it's 4 o'clock? I mean, think about it. What good is that going to become of that? Nothing. It's completely worthless. That we used to get up at the crack of dawn, work in the field, the garden, and all that until and feed the animals and stuff, and do what we need to do around the yard and the house and stuff, and then come sundown, get ready for bed, So,
by the way, the author of that book, To Do, and I would advise everybody to get a copy of it, is John Keel. You know who John Keel is. He was actually the prototype for Indiana Jones. That man is amazing. You get into some of the things he was doing, it'll blow. Yeah. He almost came face to face with the Yeti. He saw it, but read that book, To Do. But it talks a lot about what you said, William, about the monks and all that, the things they could do. The Indian rope trip, you could climb a rope that you just threw up in the air. I mean, it's amazing stuff. He actually went and found out what the tricks were and what the real stuff was.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating read. It's a fascinating read.
Yeah.
Jadoo is the Hindu word for magic. Jadoo.
Yeah. I just think trying to figure out the connection to everything is the hardest thing to do, and I guess that's kind of my mission, is to find the connection to everything, to see why things are, why things exist, what's going on with the Mothman, what's going on with the UFOs, what's going on with the sea monsters. Why is all this happening? Is it connected to time? Is it connected to other dimensions? Is it connected to the supernatural and the demons? I mean, it's just one thing after. That's how my mind works. Okay, my mind is like constantly. My mind is like time. It's constantly moving.
Well, I think Gerald knows what I mean. Let me tell you what I said the other day, William. Okay. I don't think I even gonna bother to try to connect the dots anymore, because everything's connected. You know what I mean? Yeah. I keep running into that, and it's amazing. It really is. I agree with you 100%. Everything is connected in a strange way, but it is.
Well, here's the thing, Dennis and William. We're talking about everything being connected, but you still have people that deny it or don't understand. Well, the biggest setback is ourselves, our mind. The biggest jail you can put yourself in is your mind if you close it off to everything. So once you have that first experience, or once you have that inkling, what if this exists? You got to have that imagination to get you started on your travel. Just like a young child, we were talking about their imagination and their friend that they can't see or whatever. Then they grow up and they close that off. They close that mind off. But
I've always said you've got to have an open mind. You don't want your brain to fall out, but you got to have an open mind. And if you don't have an open mind, if you have a closed mind, I'm sorry, my friend, you ain't getting nowhere. I'm sorry. You're a dead end. That's it. You know, you got to have an open mind on that.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
you got to be
That's
willing to
exactly
take
it,
that
Gerald.
first step.
Yep. Yep. You're right. You know, and that's the thing. That's the reason you see so many videos of these young children in their playpens, and when a spirit walks past or something in the house, nobody else sees it, but that little child standing, turning its head, watching, you know, the spirit go past. You know, it's that kind of reception that people need to have. They need to turn that volume up. You need to, you know, and I don't want to get into the find your zen and you need to meditate and do your breathing exercises. It's not even really about that. It's really about becoming honest with yourself. Okay? Becoming honest with what you have inside you and the belief system that you have. Okay? And the fact that
That's
do
like,
exist, that these things
like
do
I've heard,
occur, that they do
like I've
occur,
heard said
and they
before.
do.
It's like I've heard say before, William. Okay, you don't look inward, you look outward. You know, that's the problem with people.
That's what
They
it says in
tend to
the
look
Bible.
in. You need to look out and let your senses free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what Jesus said. That's what Jesus said to Peter. You know, he said, "As above, so below, as without, as within, as without." Okay, and he was trying to get that point across that everything does exist, and you just need to be receptive to it. You know, you need to realize that there's so much going on around you, and that we have these abilities to interact with it.
That's true. Also,
My sister.
time can be an implement of slavery. Time can be used, but of course, we
Yeah,
know that mankind knows how to manipulate everything like that.
yeah. My
Well, that's good. That's good. If you can get in touch with that, if you can touch that sensitivity and adjust yourself to it, embrace it, work on it, just like you exercise the muscles in your hand. You know, you can do that, and you can.
right.
It's a talent that you can have, and you know, the more you use a talent, the better you become at it.
It's just like I was saying before, you know,
Right.
seeing that little bit of a shadow
Right.
on your side and you turn, nothing's there. Well, you need to start paying attention. How often does that happen? Start thinking about, okay, why did I see that? What's going on? And start noticing
Like the,
other little things happening in your daily life. And pretty soon you'll
you know,
start developing that.
people never look at it this way. You're who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's what they start. They need to start asking themselves these questions, but they don't. You know.
Well, I mean, you guys have. The one thing that I've come to realize is that there's never a dull moment with me, and Tracy can tell you all too that that there's never never anything not happening to where I don't see or hear something or have something speak to me. At night before bed, I have little people that come to me. Okay, and you're all going to think this is crazy, and I'm talking little people. Okay, I'm not talking little people. I'm talking little people. Okay,
They're tiny.
they protect. Yeah, they protect our house. Okay, they protect our property or where we live. Okay, they've been here for a long time. Okay, a long time. Okay, they are almost as old as elementals in that aspect. But they interact with me. You know, I'll say hello to them, and they'll scurry away. You know, or you know, I'll see a shadow peeking out. You know, a little 8 inch tall shadow peeking out from behind the TV or behind a a lamp or something that's off, and I'll say hello, and it'll like stay there, and you'll see them wave and then it'll go away. I mean, it's stuff like that happens with me all the time, and I mean all the time. I'm not just, there's not one moment of the day I don't see something. I don't see a wisp. I don't see an orb. I don't see a spirit. I don't see the spirit of an animal. There's not one moment of the day that I don't see something. Okay. And the only time that I can't is if I have headphones on and I'm trying to listen to something, because I try to focus it. I try to filter it out.
You're concentrating on
I try to filter it out. Exactly. And like Tracy was saying, earlier with her grandmother sends her the red cardinal as a sign to show her that she's here checking on her. And when Tracy was up taking care of her parents there for a couple months, last year, I actually, did a little like garden thing up, a little, a big flower pot, and got the cardinal flag that says, something about cardinals being angels, for her to remind her that connection is what she has with her grandmother, and her grandmother's always here. I mean, I see Tracy's grandmother, and I can hear Tracy's grandmother, and I do that with other people too. We had a neighbor that passed away a couple days ago. Okay, I saw his wisp. Okay, and I saw it when I was in the hospitals when people passed away. I saw their spirit leave their body. So I know the energy thing is real and the spirit thing is real. Okay, the soul thing is real. Whether you call it a spirit, whether you call it a soul, whether you call it energy, whether you call it chi, whether it's the same thing. It's the same thing with a different label that mankind has put on it. Okay, and we need to get into learning more about how to enhance that ability within us, not label it.
Here's the thing, William.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about, and the whole subject of this last part has been being connected, everything being connected. Well, we're so busy in our lives, just like you with your headphones on, that we block all this stuff out. And everybody does it day to day. This is so important to us, business, car, insurance, kids, just living life. Well, the old saying, stop and smell the roses. It's not about smelling the roses. It's about taking the time to slow down, relax, let your frequency, your consciousness come into play. Be grounded to the earth and start experiencing what's going on around you. Don't worry. Don't have your mind so full of man-made stuff. Start enjoying nature and coming back to connected to where you're supposed to be.
Well, I look at it too. I look at it too as these abilities, these talents, these gifts, however you want to say they are. We've all been given these things. Okay, they're part of us, but we need to connect to that part of us. We don't need to forget it. We don't need to push it aside. We need to open ourselves to the connection that's in us. These gifts that our Creator has given us. We need to connect with them. Right. We need to, and look, it's kind of a disrespectful to not take a gift that's been given you and do something with it. I think our Creator wants us to do that, because He's given us those gifts, and we should utilize them.
Yep, exactly. I think on that note, we're going to call it a night, guys. I've got medication I got to take and stuff, so I'm sorry. But we've gone over the 2-hour mark. So, but I want to thank everybody for being out there in chat. I've got some new stickers. So we might be doing some giveaways this Sunday and
right.
Saturday morning in the coffee program. So, and I hope everybody got their whatever I mailed them so far. I know Gerald, you got your stickers right and stuff and your card.
Yep. I got it in the
Um,
mail today. Everything.
and the medicine bag, I got a message from the young lady that won the medicine bag on the Into the Fire podcast. So she said she got it, the one with the feather on it. So yeah, and I know I think Carlito was going to get an envelope. I know Karen. I think Karen got one too. If she's in the chat, I don't know.
William, do you make pollen
yeah.
bags? Do you make corn pollen bags?
Oh, you mean the corn dust, the powdered dust? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to have a corn dust bag.
Okay.
I've got one. Yeah, that's the bag. Yeah.
Well, I just, I really appreciate you guys, coming on here every night and doing what you do. It means a lot to me. These conversations that we're having, I hope, in some way it helps people, that people will look back at this video and say, maybe these guys got something going on here. Maybe they're not so, maybe we shouldn't maybe we shouldn't compartmentalize everything or label everything or put limits on everything, because everything's changing. Time is always changing. Time is always flowing. Dimensions are always changing. They're always connecting and leaving and connecting and leaving, and that's why we see things sometimes. It's all connected. It's like Dennis said, and and Gerald, you said too. It's all connected. We all believe that. We just got to figure out how it's all connected, but it's all connected.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, I want to thank everybody for being here. Ozzy, Sue, Miriam, Darcy, Tracy, Werewolf, Pastor Paul, Hero. Let's see here. Let me go back some. Steve in here. See, I'm going back through to make sure. I'm going back through to make sure. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Yeah, I guess that's, let's see here. We lost a couple of them back a while back. Stephen had to go. Who else? Who else in there? Come on. All right, there's Paul X. Shannon, okay. Good to see you, Shannon. Good to see you. Let's see, who else? Who else we got in here? Oh, that's right, Raven Creek Charms. That's right. I'm sorry you didn't get into the chat there in the last part. Probably because everybody else was talking so much. But anyways, I want Bigfoot Michigan Rob. There he is. He is here. Okay. Right. Okay. That was everybody that I, from the beginning into the end. And so, if anybody, I apologize. We all very much. You're all family. Get with us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Saturday edition show, and then Sunday at 10 a.m. also. We're just going to continue. We're going to just keep on rolling with it and just see what comes up. I'd still like to get into the aspect of the interdimensional type of a thing, and all that goes with it. Why do we have ley lines? Why do ley lines exist? Why do it happen on ley lines? Well, you know,
And why
we'll get into all
and
kinds of weird
why
stuff tomorrow.
and why is there one running through my room? I don't know. Anyway.
All right,
There you go.
everybody. So we'll see everybody in the morning. Okay. All right. Everybody have a good night. Okay. Enjoy it.